topic of discussion is, as citizens, to gather information on what the plan is for the development of the proposed international site. IP is proposing to sell the location to the highest bidder. The talk that's been about is what will be there. Talk has been that the proposed biomass energy plant that would provide energy and electricity to Santee Cooper and Santee Electric. Also, on the other side of the river is the sale, on the other side of Fraser Street is the sale of Liberty Steel site. That developer is looking at developing the water site and possible residential, high-priced residential property on the river. That developer is looking over on this side to see what the developer will be doing as proposed for International Paper Company. And there are about 2 or 3 other developers that are looking at possibly buying both locations. But in the meantime, we are trying to educate the community, which has been under the smokestacks and the shadow of International Paper Company for at least 70 to 80 years. In the meantime, residents in the West End of Georgetown have suffered such things as cancer, respiratory ailment deaths, and loss of hearing, and a lot of other ailments that have affected the community. So now we're asking questions that whatever comes to the international site, what will round 2 be? What will they be emitting from the air that will be also affecting the people? So again, we've gathered environmentalists and scientists and specialists that will come before you to give you further information of what they're doing as for research and so forth. And I'd like to ask Ms. Becky Ryan to come forth and give a summary of your research. And next will be Audrey Jones and also Mr. Paul Black. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Becky Ryan. I'm the North Coast Office Director for the Coastal Conservation League. The Conservation League is an environmental nonprofit dedicated to advocating for the protection of our natural environment along South Carolina's coast for the benefit of all. We strive for clean air and clean water and thriving wildlife and thriving communities as well. And as the North Coast Office Director, I cover Georgetown, Horry, Marion, Florence, and Williamsburg counties and go inland as needed into the PD, pretty much every environmental issue you can think of. And my office is at CCO at the Coastal Science Center in Conway. I live in Mumbles Inlet. And like you, I have a lot of questions and some concerns about this proposal for the IP mill site to be converted to a biomass power plant. The closure of IP was a huge blow for Georgetown County, with the loss of over 700 jobs and an unknown economic impact. We haven't seen the extent of it yet. But at the same time, we shouldn't forget some of the positive impacts on our air quality and our public health. I don't think anybody misses that sour milk smell that I could smell all the way down the Rose Inlet sometimes. And with the closure of IP, and the redevelopment of the steel mill and the redevelopment of the Ports Authority properties, downtown Georgetown is going to be changing, which provides exciting opportunities, but we want to make sure that the residents of the West End are not forgotten and that the community is really centered in these discussions for what will happen for the future of Georgetown. And so, like I said, we have many questions about the proposed biomass plant. What size will it be? What types of biomass are they talking about? And what we do know is that the paper mill was polluting, and a biomass plant will also be polluting, maybe in a different way, but it also does have pollution in the process. And it can also be a really expensive form of energy. Some of our clean, renewable types of energy, like solar, are actually cheaper than biomass, and biomass may not make sense for grid-scale electricity generation, just on a cost level. And I am not an air quality expert, or a biomass expert, or a public health expert, but I did do some research. And according to the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, which is their version of what we used to call DHEC, and is now the Department of Environmental Services. They say that burning biomass can release up to 4 times more carbon dioxide than burning coal, and more than 2 times as much particle pollution like soot, which means it is not clean. It is not a clean form of energy, and it can have health impacts. Back in 2016, a number of national public health organizations wrote a letter to Congress expressing concerns over biomass for electricity generation. They were the Allergy and Asthma Network, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Lung Association, the American Public Health Association, Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America, National Association of County and City Health Officials, National Environmental Health Association, and Physicians for Social Responsibility. And they wrote that burning biomass creates air pollution that causes a sweeping array of health harms, from asthma attacks to cancer to heart attacks, resulting in emergency room visits, hospitalizations, and premature deaths. Among the most dangerous of these emissions is particulate matter, also known as soot. These particles are so small that they can enter and lodge deep in the lungs, triggering asthma attacks, cardiovascular disease, and even death. Particulate matter can also cause lung cancer. Biomass combustion also creates nitrogen oxide emissions, which are harmful in their own right and also contribute to the formation of ozone smog and particulate matter downwind. Ground level ozone pollution can trigger asthma attacks and cause premature death, and newer research shows possible links to reproductive and central nervous system harm. Burning biomass also creates carbon monoxide, which leads to headaches, nausea, dizziness, and in high concentrations, premature death, and carcinogens, including benzene and formaldehyde. The dangerous air pollution from burning biomass endangers some people more than others. Millions of infants and children, older adults, individuals with respiratory and cardiovascular disease or diabetes, and individuals with lower incomes face a higher risk of suffering serious health effects from these pollutants. And if that wasn't enough, Harvard Center for Climate, Health, and Global Environment has said that burning biomass leads to more deaths than conventional coal-fired power plants. So that's concerning, for sure. And we can look at a case study not too far away, just over the border in North Carolina. Robeson County has the so-called North Carolina Renewable Powers South Lumberton plant. It used to be a coal plant until it closed in 2009, and it was retrofitted to be biomass in 2015. They burn up to 285,000 tons of poultry waste, because they have a lot of chickens and turkeys in the area that they are raising for food, and wood chips every year. It uses 2 boilers to generate steam to produce electricity, and runs 4 belt dryers to reduce the moisture content of wood chips. Each belt dryer has the capacity to produce 100 tons an hour of wood chips. The plant has repeatedly exceeded allowable emissions for carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, and particulate matter, and methane, and the violations have resulted in more than $58,000 in fines. The EPA ranks it in the 80th percentile for fine particulate matter pollution, and in the 91st percentile for hazardous air pollutants in the state. Little concerning. Like I said, we have a lot of questions about this proposal. The cost of the biomass plant will likely be high. The carbon release will likely be high. The pollution will likely be high. And I hope IP and the other decision makers are really thinking this through, not just taking the easiest path, but thinking through what is in the best for Georgetown in the long term, for the community, for the residents that are already here. And the Conservation League will support the community however we can. We, regardless of what happens in the future with this site, we will commit to making sure that there are safeguards in place, that we are working to protect our public health and our environment and making it as least damaging as it can be. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Becky. Mr. Paul Black, come forth. Mr. Black is with the Sierra Club, and we appreciate your input here tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Excuse me, I'm a little cold, so My voice might sound a little bit weird today, but I promise I'm not gonna cough on anybody. But good evening, y'all. My name is Paul Black, and I'm with the Sierra Club, and more specifically, I'm with the Beyond Coal campaign with the Sierra Club. The Beyond Coal campaign is a national campaign with the goal of cleaning up the U.S. and making it so that we can breathe clean wherever we are. So we work to help transition us to a cleaner energy future, try to transition away from fossil fuels and promote the growth of clean energy. So I approach this work from that perspective. I am not exactly a research expert or a policy expert. In fact, I'm just an advocate. But I do just want to talk a little bit about what I've seen both in Columbia and around South Carolina that has bearing on this biomass fight. As Becky so expertly explained the harms that come with biomass, I want to just kind of highlight how there's been movement pushing for biomass outside of this community, and I don't think that should just go without being said. There's an old saying in organizing, not about us, about us. And I feel like these conversations would target exactly what's going on here what's going on here in Georgetown, but pushing things that the community do not want, or the community has not voiced the voice that they need. Specifically, to take it out to a 30,000-foot view, I'm talking about House Bill 3967, which is the bioenergy bill. It's legislation that was passed pretty quickly about a month ago, saying that not only is biomass good for South Carolina, it is carbon neutral, meaning it's as clean an energy source as you can get. And even better, if it's paired with this hypothetical carbon capture technology that's not been demonstrated to work at the scale that it would need to do, it's carbon negative. So saying that it's even better than carbon neutral, of course. It's the solution for the climate problem. And I'm not sure when's the last time someone was around a bonfire, or last time you were burning some wood. Did you feel the strong urge to take a deep breath in? So, biomass is I work for the Beyond Coal campaign, and this is worse than coal. It trips me out a little bit that first that legislation I thought was a joke, but it passed the House with 111 folks voting for it and only 9 people in that General Assembly in the House did not vote for it. So that such a harmful potential fuel source is being pushed by our elected officials. It's being championed as a solution to the lumber industry's crisis. So burning biomass and chopping up trees and then putting them in communities that have already suffered under decades of environmental injustice is their solution for them not being able to sell enough paper and toilet paper and printer copy. So it's fundamentally unfair that Georgetown should be the one suffering. It's Georgetown who, we've been engaged around here on the Winnow Generation Station. We've been involved in the just transition process, and I'm looking forward to the day when there is no kind of weird smell in Georgetown. And to hear that there is an active effort pushing back against the positive tides, still kind of trips me out. I apologize, I'm not the most eloquent or elegant today, but I just want to make sure that, this isn't just happening, this legislation that's moving that would have a direct impact on Georgetown isn't being even broached. Next year, when the General Assembly reconvenes in January, this bill will be in the Senate. It's already halfway on the way there. It's going to be in the Senate Medical Affairs Committee. And if nothing is done, it will probably probably have a unanimous passage, a strong passage through the Senate. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, both to fight this off at the local level, but to make sure that here in South Carolina, we aren't doubling down on the polluting fuels of the past, and we can move towards a cleaner future. Like, I love coming to Georgetown. It reminds me of times I came here as a kid. Like I said, I'm only just in Florence, not far away, and I have plenty of friends and memories here, and I want better for this city. I want better for the communities that make the city up, and we need to make sure that our elected officials know this, and also that the State House as a whole knows this. But, you know, they always say, sorry, that's my, the old saying, not about us, without us. And the fact that the people closest to the problem are the closest to the solution. So the Sierra Club's Beyond Coal campaign is here to support the community in what you want. We want to bring whatever tools we have to bear to help the decision of the community be heard loud and clear. So I don't want to prolong my time up here because I know that a lot of folks came out and there might be some other folks that want to speak, but we are here, we're not going anywhere, and yeah, I can't wait to make some change with y'all.
Thank you very much, Paul, for that information. We will be soliciting the support of the environmental groups to guide us through this process. We'd also like to invite up Ms. Audrey Jones to come and speak and give us some information. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you all this evening. Thank you very much for the welcome. I want to echo what Paul and Becky shared as well, just the Sierra Club. I'm here from Columbia, South Carolina. I represent the state chapter. There's a chapter in every state in the nation. The Sierra Club is the oldest, longest running environmental nonprofit grassroots organization in the country. So we do, celebrate that we've got organizing power and activists all over the state. A lot of our members here in the region. So we look forward to working with this community, and we stand firmly against the proposal to bring a biomass facility to Georgetown. It's often marketed as a renewable energy solution, but the plants are known to release significant amounts of air pollution, as Becky cited, the fine particulate matter, carbon dioxide, endangering so much in the public health space, contributing to the climate crisis, incineration of wood and other organic materials, placing your community at risk, respiratory illnesses, environmental degradation, especially in a region already burdened by the industrial pollution of, like I said, the last 75, 80 years. Well, we all know that these facilities threaten the local ecosystems as well and undermine sustainable forestry practices. But Georgetown deserves clean, forward-thinking energy solutions, not industries that compromise the health and the future of your residents and the natural environment. So we want to urge community leaders and residents, we're going to reject this biomass facility proposal and instead invest in a truly sustainable, clean energy and a set of alternatives that protect our health, environment, community, and the future. And I don't know if I'm prepared to take any questions or anything. I just want to emphasize that we are here to support your community. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Audrey. And Reverend Woodbury, would you put the crowd in touch on this? And then afterwards, we will take questions from the attendees. Thank you, Reverend Woodbury.
Okay. Okay, so here we are again in a situation and circumstances that seem to just continue to repeat themselves over and over again. You know, President Clinton in 1994 defined what an environmental justice community was in his Executive Order 12898, which described an environmental justice community as one of 5 things: people of color community, low wealth community, a community that's environmentally vulnerable, a community that's environmentally overburdened, and tribes. I would say that Georgetown is a community that has been environmentally overburdened with polluting facilities literally for decades. And so it's painful, it's perplexing to once again have to sit in a community where people's health has been impacted, where people have had to mourn the loss of loved ones in houses of faith like this one. And I don't even understand the division between the folks in Waccamaw and the folks in the West End. Because pollutants do not stand stationary over a community. The wind blows and the waters flow. And the same toxins, the same pollutants that can cause respiratory problems and all kinds of other damaging health impacts are going to impact this entire community, not just the West End, where the facility is located. See, we have to understand that we're now in another era, another place, another time. We don't have to use the same old tired methods of creating energy which endanger our environment. You know, one of the things that we can do, and Paul Black and I were at a meeting earlier this week. Santee Cooper has a power plant where the IP facility is. Instead of polluting the community and putting people at risk, why not, Paul, we heard about this, why not put a battery storage facility in that same location? It already has the wire, it already has the infrastructure for it, so that Santee Cooper and the rest will be able to create more energy and store it as solar batteries to meet the future and coming needs of this state. We have data centers coming. We have 3 EV battery manufacturing plants coming. We have four recycling battery plants coming. We have VC Summer in Fairfield County. They want to once again work on building the second reactor there, nuclear reactor there. We have talk of a nuclear facility being built right in Richland County. We understand that we need more energy, but solar actually costs less than 30 energy generators. So if anything, we are, and especially our elected officials, they need to educate themselves and find out that there are other means of creating energy, life-giving energy, the kind of energy that comes from the sun and gives life to this entire planet. Wind energy that spreads the seeds across our planet for the food and the grasses and the things that we need to survive, rather than dealing in death-causing energy systems. We really need to see communities like this one come together. And we talked about it before, Everett. There is no invisible line of demarcation between the Waccamaw and the West End. This is one community, and the development that comes about should be development that helps and benefits everyone and not harm people instead. What we have to realize is that for far too long, Georgetown has been the sacrifice on the twin altars of profitability and greed. But there is no price that you can put on human life. There's no price that we can put on our children. We do not need a facility that daily will release emissions of carbon, nitric oxide, sulfuric oxide, volatile organic chemicals, and particulate matter. It's already bad enough that the majority of absences in this country and this state is due to children having asthma and respiratory problems. What are we doing for the future? What are we doing for the children and grandchildren who live in this area? And let me tell you something else. I've been working on the biomass wood pellet industry for 8 years with Dogwood Alliance and many other organizations across the Southeast. See, what a lot of people don't realize is the Southeast is known as the wood basket of the world. Our forests are already being logged at 4 times the rate of the Amazon forest. You wonder why things are flooding so much? Because the more they log and clear cut, we remove nature's natural defense to flooding. And as climate change ramps up, and you know, I say to people, some people say there's no climate change. I say, you must stay inside in July and August in South Carolina. But as climate change ramps up and as very reputable groups like the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change tells us that the intensity and the ferocity and the frequency of climate change impacts are going to increase. So you think it's flooding now? Wait till a facility like this comes, because this is what they do. And they start talking about, well, besides wood waste and branches, we want to log some trees, but that's all right because we're going to plant genetically modified loblolly pine trees, you know, and that's supposed to take the place of nature's natural forest. Get in your car the next time you're driving down 701, 378, any highway around here. Turn to your left or right and look at trees that are planted in rows just like crops. No vines, very few bushes, no diversity, which is destroying our biosystem, our ecosystem. That's why you have deers walking the streets in Georgetown, and you're finding their carcasses close to the road. That's why the animals have no place to go. I'm going to fit, can I take a little longer? Some of you are old enough to remember when we used to come outside at night and you had to wave the gnats and the moths away. Anybody remember that? Where are they now? Right? Some of us remember when we could ride down the road and you would see fireflies in such great abundance that it looked like the trees were filled with Christmas lights. Where are they now? We have to be careful about what we're doing to our environment, what we're doing to our communities, what we're doing to our future. So I implore each and every one of you, call your elected officials. Tell them to learn about alternative forms of creating energy and not just sell your community out to the highest bidder who calls himself a developer. I implore you to talk with each other and all come to the same decision that yes, we want Georgetown to grow. Yes, we want Georgetown to develop, but not with that economic program of death and destruction. So I'm glad to see all of you here tonight. It means that you care. I'm glad to see you here tonight because it means that you want to do something for this community and to make a difference. And so Everett invited me here because I've been doing this work for 8 years, because I'm on the board of Dogwood Alliance. I'm the interim chair for the Sierra Club, and we work with many other organizations. But this is your community. We can only be invited in to provide the resources, the support, the research, and the expertise that you need to strengthen yourself up and to get what the community wants, not what some people who want to fill their pockets want. So we're here for that reason, to support you, but the decision is yours. But remember, like our Native American or indigenous people say, any decision that you make should be made with the thought of what impacts this will have for the next 7 generations. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak, and I'm going to turn it back over to Everett so that we can entertain any questions at this time.
No, the 3 just abstained.
Okay, we have 4 representatives representing the 4 districts in Georgetown County. Senator Goldfinch, Senator Sabb, Representative Anderson, and Representative Hewitt. At this time, the voice that we've heard who is endorsing biomass is Senator Goldfinch. Excuse me. But our next proposed meeting within 30 days, probably at Howard Auditorium, we will be inviting all of our elected officials to come and speak before the people. And again, the representatives from the environmental organizations, we are also going to request that you all come also, so the community, more of the community, can hear your results and listen to the response of the elected officials. Any other questions?
You expect them to show up?
We're going to offer the invitation, and we're going to insist that they show up, because this is a concern that's affecting the community, and the community would like to hear their input on this. But we're going to tender the invitation.
If they don't come, you can go see them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But what I'd like to encourage, tonight we have your email address, that we will be getting back with you, because we're forming committees, and we are going to list the names of the committees and how the way you feel that you can fit to help fortify our effort. We need your help. We're going to be putting out announcements throughout the community, through the churches, to notify and pastors speak strongly about the need to come to this next meeting. So again, we're starting it. We want to keep our momentum going. You've heard the situation with this proposal here. We know what International has done to this community for the last 70, 80 years. We know what has impacted with the steel mill. And many times the public has never gone onto the steel mill property to see what is going on. Not only the illnesses from the steel workers, but you had longshoremen that moved commodities around on that dock there. So again, a community that has been taken advantage of. We now have the technology and the engineering and the understanding to now ask questions and challenge the powers to be, and to make them aware of the concern of the people. Any other questions? Okay, the survey that was submitted, if you have time, if you've completed, please leave it at the desk as we're leaving. We need that to get a bearing on just where we are. Paul?
Got 2 questions for you.
Yes.
One is, do you understand the process that's going to go through get this thing approved or disapproved? I mean, do we fully understand what we have to go through? Because right now, you can't find when people are meeting, when, the public meetings that are there are very difficult to find.
Correct.
So how do we inform everybody to say, here's the process, here's when people are meeting, to be able to show up to voice your concerns?
All right. We're gonna solidify our contact with the Sierra Club, Reverend Woodbury, the Coastal Conservation, and Sierra Club, everyone. And at this next meeting, with the elected officials, and how the way the organizations can guide us to ask these questions, we will have a list at the next meeting of all of the names, emails, and phone numbers of the elected officials. And we can start a campaign where we can call in and email and ask them questions on where do we stand concerning this project. So this
Well,
is
when
the
they-
attempt.
I understand, but when they're having like county council meetings, do we know when those things are? Do city council meetings? So everybody can show up at these things.
Absolutely. What we will do also is provide the meeting dates for county council. And if we can rapidly organize our groups, that we can have spokespersons at these meetings. This is what it is. County council meeting is the second and fourth Tuesday of every month, and it goes on a reduced basis during the summer. But we will have that scheduled for the city council and for the county council.
Good.
And if we can gather more numbers in the group, we will have and organize and divide numbers that can go speak at city council and those that can speak at county council. I submitted a invitation to this meeting to county council last week. No members here, but the chairperson, Stella McCarlo, wrote an op-ed in support of the development of the waterfront. No smokestacks, but supporting the waterfront development. So we'll be developing a campaign to stay behind it.
The other second part of the question I had was, you mentioned, which I was a little confused, you're saying that there's a divide between here and the neck or something of that nature. I can't understand.
Well,
How there's
as
a
Reverend
divide.
Woodbury mentioned, and that
Doesn't make
statement,
sense.
as the wind blows and the water flows, it affects us all. And this is one of the first issues within Georgetown County that has brought communities together. The Waccamaw Neck, the Citizens for Georgetown, it started with a proposal by Tom Schwartz.
Yeah.
And that ignited the West End to join, because here you had West End individuals over here, and you had the Waccamaw Neck, who brought up the issue. Now it's bringing us together, and we hope to just increase our numbers.
Right. That's what it was meant is. It was two separate, the community really should be together.
Absolutely should.
Having joint meetings.
Absolutely. And that's why I was a little surprised when I heard there was a separation
Yeah.
of that. It doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah, there's a big separation. There's a big
It makes
separation.
no sense.
But we're glad it was brought up. We're glad it has united the West End, and we're gonna keep this together.
Could I just quickly speak to the process that we're looking at? I'm not sure exactly what the actual meetings will look like, if they'll have public meetings about the sale, but to my understanding right now, the property is owned by International Paper, and it'll be up to them who they sell it to. So certainly turning out at county council meetings just to get public awareness is helpful and to have people speaking up, but the council will not be taking a decision on it. They won't have a vote necessarily on the sale of the property. So we need to be putting public pressure on International Paper to choose to a seller that's not biomass,
Does
if that's what
somebody
we
have to
need.
apply for some kind of permits and what have you?
They
People
will.
put biomass in there, which means it has to be voted on by somebody, an elected official, to say, yes, I do this.
Not elected officials. It'll have to have DES permits, Department of Environmental Services, and it will have to have probably a U.S. Army Corps review. It'll have to go through the Public Service Commission for a new power plant like this, but it won't be our state legislators
So there's no way
or,
to effectuate anything on that process.
yes, absolutely, there are ways to work on that, providing comments at every step, getting the folks out to council meetings and speaking at council. Just because the council members don't have a vote to take doesn't mean they don't have some influence. And so if the community is showing up saying, we want this, we don't want this, then they can use whatever influence they have to try to sway the decision makers that aren't necessarily them, but they still do have influence.
Those touch points, you just talked about all those different things that people tell them. How do you, can there's any way you can influence or speak with those directly to those individuals?
How do
or
you?
those groups? You just mentioned that somebody has to sign off.
Yeah, so there will be public comment periods for any DES permits, for Army Corps permits, for the Public Service Commission. There will be comment periods. And again, council members speaking at council, writing letters to our elected officials, having petitions, all goes towards the efforts, even if it's not an elected official making the decision.
I think we make sure we educate everybody on when those are, because quite frankly, I'm clueless when it comes to, I guarantee most people have no idea.
But we are not to any of that stage yet.
What's that?
We're not to any, like, first, International Paper will have to sell the property.
I understand that.
So that will come later. But yes, absolutely, if it does move forward, we can keep everybody informed of what the process is.
And
But
the company, the biomass wood culling company purchased the property to build that plant, they will have to apply for an air permit.
Absolutely.
And DES now will have to have hearings and that sort of thing. But she brings up a very good point. One, seeing if there can be a conversation with International Paper. Two, DES actually has, I think since about 2015, something called the Environmental Justice Hub, where organizations can come and actually meet with our environmental agency just by request. And so that's like jumping ahead to let them know that there's concerns from the community about the pollution. And I don't think that President Biden's last executive environmental order on cumulative impacts, of different polluting facilities coming together. So that could be another touch point too. But she made a very good point where the starting point is to try to convince International Paper not to sell their facility to a company that's going to pollute and do further harm.
Give me a phone number.
Yeah.
Gary has a question. So, I would like to ask about the purification process of the soil that we have to put in place to get rid of all the contaminants that are there before we start the development of any port towns or anything like that. I mean, we know the state of Liberty Steel soil. We know how contaminated it is. We know how many chemicals lie there. And International Paper was around for a much longer period of time, well, in my lifetime. And I've seen, what it puts out. I mean, if Liberty Steel has as many chemicals as they do in their soil, and it's unsafe for humans to be around, how can we do anything with the development of International Paper without purifying the soil? And then how long will that take?
Very good question.
I can answer that
Yes,
a
sir.
little bit. So if the testing from DES shows that this is what they call that a brownfield, contaminated soil. There's actually a list that DES has that lists all the brownfields in Georgetown County, so you can check to see if they're on that list. If it's so contaminated that the state cannot afford to clean it up, then EPA has what's called a super fund, declared a super fund site where you get federal and state funding to clean it up. But one of the things that happens is that if, say, IP is not gonna clean up the soil, then whoever purchases the facility, they're supposed to clean it up. And so, again, getting in touch with DES to see, is that a brownfield? Is it listed by the state as a brownfield? How contaminated is it? If the state can't clean it up, then it needs to be declared a Superfund site and the federal government cleans it up before anyone can develop it. So that's kind of the route you have to take with that. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, sir, it was.
I would just,
I'd be a little worried stepping foot into an area that was contaminated by those, even though it says it's been cleaned up. And we are to trust that. I mean, you put it in the hands of a private owner, once International Paper sells it, whoever buys it, they will have that choice, and they're supposed to. But what will we do if they don't? We still have that soil, and it'll still carry those chemicals. And I mean, dirt particles move. So if the soil is contaminated, we still have these contaminants flying around. If the new purchaser chooses to not clean it up, how can we sort of push them to do it? How can we take matters into our own hands to kind of press this issue to a point where we can make a big impact on it without having to head on?
Yeah, there are legal requirements for different land uses, so if it is converted to a biomass facility, it would be less cleanup required than if it were to become a residential development. There are different stages and different requirements by law. And so DES does do testing, and so whoever the purchaser is, there would be legal requirements for them to clean it up. That's, again, if it's a different type of development versus a heavy industrial site. I don't know that they would need to do a lot of remediation to the site if it was going from a heavy industrial use to another heavy industrial use.
There is an elephant in the room. If anybody thinks under this current political climate that there's a governmental regulation agency, whether it's called DES or whatever soup of letters you can come up with, they are sorely fooling themselves, because in this political climate, it's all about big business. FEMA's being disorganized and so many other organizations. So if we're looking for the federal government, or even the state government, because you can see the funds that the state government can't even get when there's a catastrophe. There's no help coming there unless you are a person who wants to, as you say, fatten your pocket. I don't think we should look for the federal government to say, hey, clean this up, clean that up, because they have turned the other cheek.
Thank you. We will be making an effort to definitely mobilize the community. The West End, we need to get the citizens of the West End out here. Within 30 days, we will be announcing the next meeting at the Howard Auditorium, and within that time, we'll put into effect a method in which to get the word out to the community of this upcoming meeting. And if the same environmental representatives can be available, if we can give out information and educate the community, this is our task. From that point on, we want to organize committees and groups that will touch various organizations, research, elected officials, get our committees together, those that will go speak before city council, those that will go speak before county council. We have to get our word out and our concern about the projection of what's going to come in this location. So again, I want to thank everybody that came out tonight on the eve of Memorial Day. You're showing your concern for your community, and we want to keep this momentum going. So again, are there any other questions? Any other concerns? Again, we thank you. for coming out tonight. Godspeed to everyone, safe travel, and you'll be communicating on our next meeting. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.